Hey there, everyone. I'm Ranting Ray. Today we're going to be looking at a video called State of the Union or Emperor Biden Campaign Speech. A hilarious title. Let's dig in.
Here's Joe Biden. He opens his speech talking about FDR in 1941. If you didn't know better, you'd think that Joe Biden is ready to declare war. You don't just mention Joe Biden is ready to declare war. You don't just mention FDR in the year of Pearl Harbor without any sort of context. He looks at himself in this mold, in this form.
Just a side note, I'm actually kind of shocked. There's a poster back here with Charlie and Candace Owens on there. I don't know. I thought they separated from Candace Owens at this point. This is like I don't know when this is, late 2023 or early 2024-ish.
Of course, Joe Biden went on to talk endlessly about Ukraine and condescendingly about the border. Play cut 91.
My fellow Americans, in January 1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation, and he said, "I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union."
Okay.
Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world.
Context?
He continues by saying, now it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of our nation.
What moment?
In this regard, Joe Biden is right. We have an entire regime that hates the country that they're tasked to govern. That is unprecedented. I can't think in my lifetime that we've had, Obama didn't love the country, nor does he. However, but the people around, even in this particular government, they have no concern for our nation. In fact, they seem diabolically obsessed with ruining the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. Play cut 92.
Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union.
What moment?
And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today.
How so? What are we
What
talking
makes
about?
our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time.
Right there. What a missed opportunity. At that moment, I understand, the heckling and all that. It gets mixed reviews, but hold on a second. Freedom and democracy is under attack. Everyone nods along. His government is the one that is indicting the opposition political leader and former president. What?
On trumped up charges too, pun intended. Literally like a tax, what was it? Like a tax error or a tax filing error. And then they just repeated the charge 34 times.
The opposition political leader and former president. What could be a greater threat to freedom and democracy than putting the candidate you don't like in leg irons and handcuffs? Oh, our elections are under attack. You want to know what really is under attack? When you try to kick them off the ballot. When you try to label half the room as insurrectionists.
Yeah.
And when Katie Britt, again, maybe I missed it, did she lean in on any of this? Did we make the case to the American people that this is not normal? This is not, and by the way, this is persuasive.
Wait, Katie Britt, is she the one who spearheaded this IVF, lowering IVF prices recently? Is she that senator? Katie Britt. I believe she is. Continue to call for what's the Alabama? Yeah, she is. I don't know what Charlie's referencing or why he brought her up specifically, but I just thought that was interesting. Recognize the name.
Lean in on any of this? Did we make the case to the American people that this is not normal? This is not, and by the way, this is persuasive. As Donald Trump was indicted, he did better in the Republican primary and better in general election polling.
Yep. Remember, Trump got indicted or impeached twice during his first presidency. So I think it's fucking hilarious to see people during his second presidency now saying, impeach Trump, impeach Trump. Like it's going to fucking matter or do anything. It's not going to do shit, you fucking idiots. Go ahead and impeach him. See if we give a fuck. We don't. Won't matter at all.
Was indicted, he did better in the Republican primary and better in general election polling. Americans do not like the instruments of justice to be used for political purposes.
Nope.
It's against core American values. It's a 60, 70, 80% winning issue.
Yep. Justice is supposed to be blind, which is why it is reprehensible and disgusting to me, as someone who just learned this, that we elect attorney generals, state attorneys general. We elect them, and they're not appointed. That is reprehensible and disgusting to me.
And the Democrats rationalize it because they think Trump is Hitler. Most Americans don't believe that. In fact, the vast majority of Americans don't believe that. Joe Biden could not even get himself to say...
Or one more thing. Play that again.
It's against core American values. It's a 60, 70, 80% winning issue. And the Democrats rationalize it because they think Trump is Hitler.
Yep. Democrat leaders push out this rhetoric about their opposition being Nazis, Gestapo, Hitler, fascist, etc. And then at the same time, in the same breath, they say, oh, we're the party of love and peace and tolerance and hugs and rainbows and unicorns, and we just love everybody. But also, that guy's a fascist. And what they're doing when they use this rhetoric, fascist, Nazi, the other two I said, Gestapo, etc., these are dog whistles for someone to go and commit violent acts against these people. That's what they are. And you have this rhetoric coming all the way from the top Democrat politicians, bleeding all the way down through Democrats at every level of government, every single level of government, all the way down to the constituents, to we the people. And at the No Kings protest that was just held this last weekend in October 2025, now we have videos surfacing of people saying explicitly, there was one guy said explicitly, if he saw Stephen Miller, he would kill him. There was another video of an adult holding like a piñata, not really a piñata, but it's more like a blow-up thing, an effigy of Donald Trump held out on a stick, and they go and they get a child. This kid looks like he's maybe, 9 to maybe 13. They give him a stick and have him start stabbing it. And then when he's done, another adult puts his hand up for a high five and high fives the kid. So now you have this rhetoric from leading Democratic politicians and their mainstream media outlets who use the same rhetoric. It has bled all the way down to constituents who are now they're now passing that on to literal children, saying, here you go, little Billy, it's fine to stab the president of the United States because we have labeled him with all this insanely inflammatory, violent rhetoric that are dog whistles for the very type of violence we are now having you simulate on this Donald Trump effigy. It's rotten to its core, it's evil to its core, and it needs to be rooted out in one way or another. In my opinion, these people, all of these people, they should be stripped of their citizenship and removed from the country. And if not stripped of their citizenship and removed from the country, they should be prosecuted as insurrectionists who are explicitly inciting violence against, just political violence. They are explicitly inciting political violence, and they should be dealt with appropriately.
Most Americans don't believe that. In fact, the vast majority of Americans don't believe that. Joe Biden could not even get himself to say Donald Trump. My predecessor, my predecessor, my predecessor. Play cut 96.
And his successor.
Now my predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. My predecessor failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people. The past administrations, including my predecessor, but my predecessor and many in this chamber want to take this prescription drug away by repealing Affordable Care Act. And if my predecessor is watching, instead of paying politics, unlike my predecessor on my first day in office, I introduced a comprehensive bill to fix our immigration system. Take a look at it. It has all these and more. My predecessor told the NRA he's proud he did nothing on guns when he was president.
He looks at himself as a general, a marshal in the army against the American right. He tries to position himself and positions history that the baby boomers and the greatest generation, they fought the Nazis. We fight MAGA. He positions this time as unique because democracy is under assault, domestically and internationally. Now, he never defines what democracy means. He never defines what that is. Is it the will of the people, the will of the many? No, it's an oligarchy. What you saw on display last evening was a celebration of the oligarchy. And Joe Biden did not attempt to try and win over Republicans or independents. He didn't try to win over swing voters. Joe Biden's tone was defiant, not persuasive.
And just a note on that, over 40% of registered voters in the United States identify as independents, not as Republicans, not as Democrats. So when you have one side explicitly espousing violence repeatedly, continually, over time, you're not going to be winning those independents over to your cause. Okay. Yeah.
His tone was angry and bitter. It's almost like, I'm in charge. All throughout the evening, he would turn to the Republican side of the room.
One more thing on that. If you do not identify as an independent and you do identify as a Democrat or Republican, I highly encourage you to change that. We should all identify as independents. We should, en masse, change our voter registration to independent. So we signal to all these corrupt, nasty politicians that we will make up our own minds. We will not vote for you just because you put a D or an R in front of your name. That's retarded. If you do that, you are a fucking imbecile. You are a fucking idiot. And you're too stupid to be allowed to vote, in my opinion. And to all those states out there, that caveat to that, if you do have Democrat or Republican voter registration because your state requires it so you can vote in the secondary election or what is it, primary? You know, that the primary is the general election, primary, the off-year elections, the state elections. Then I get that. That's totally fine. But those states who require that, there needs to be some kind of law that comes down against that, because that is absurd. That encourages this two-party system, and it encourages people to align themselves with one side or another when maybe that's not where their viewpoints lie.
Try to win over swing voters. Joe Biden's tone was defiant, not persuasive. His tone was angry and bitter. It's almost like, I'm in charge. All throughout the evening, he would turn to the Republican side of the room and almost say, I'm in charge.
Also, just another random note. I think it's optically, from an optics standpoint, it looks so terrible when you have the president of the United States up there addressing Congress. Is this Senate? the House or all of Congress. I don't know. He's up there addressing Congress, and they have separated themselves. On this side, one party. On this side, the other party. That looks so terrible. Why aren't you intermixed? Why are you separating yourselves? You're supposed to work together to come to the best decisions for the country. If you have disagreements, you're supposed to work together, make concessions here and there, come to agreements, pass compromises that work for both sides to help the American people. It's optically, that is so terrible that they literally separate themselves in Congress on different sides of the room. That's terrible. Like, what are you doing?
He would turn to the Republican side of the room and almost say, I'm in charge. You guys are a bunch of buffoons. Typically at a State of the Union address, you put politics aside. Joe Biden led with the most politically charged statements you could imagine. Now, just so Joe Biden knows, look at 159, 159. That's the country he hates. It is most of the country.
Always is.
Visually, it looks like he's at war with most of the greatest country ever to exist in the history of the world. This was not a State of the Union speech. This is a wartime address, or was a wartime address, against half the country. This was a signal to crush political dissent. And in all of the response, including Katie Britt's underwhelming State of the Union address response, I was losing patience. Katie Britt, to her credit, mentioned the border. Now, we could talk about how Katie Britt it was kind of like a bad actor reel in Hollywood. She was whispering through the whole thing. She seems like a very sweet person and a good mother. I'm glad she's in the U.S. Senate. I wish her well. She big swing and a miss last night. Because there's this glaring component that everybody seemed to miss. And Katie Britt should have leaned in and said, hey, before I get started, just so you know, that man who calls himself a president is quietly overseeing the greatest lawfare operation against a political dissident in American history. And we're not going to put up with it. Joe Biden was too cowardly. Or was he strategic? Not to mention that he has deployed Merrick Garland against over 1,000 January 6th defendants. That Donald Trump is facing 700 years in federal prison. It's now 1,300 January 6th defendants. Now, maybe I missed it. Did Katie Britt mention, even in a whisper, because she did a lot of that, the lawfare campaign against Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, James O'Keefe, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows? Joe Biden declares war on half the country. Democracy is what he calls it. It was littered with economic lies. We're not going to get into all that. You know, I watched some of the other cable news. We're now going to mention the 74 lies of Joe Biden. You guys don't need to hear that. That is a waste of everybody's time. If you need to go hear some guy on cable TV, and now let's play cut this one, and this is a lie from Joe Biden. This is a lie from Joe Biden. No. The Republican response collectively was all like, well, you know, Joe Biden on the border. And by the way, I'm glad that we forced the issue for Joe Biden to say Laken Riley's name, even though he said Lincoln Riley, who's the coach of USC football. But let's not forget the backdrop. The backdrop, if you actually read the speech, not just listen to the speech, read the speech. Joe Biden frames himself as a general, as an Eisenhower over the supreme allied forces. And it's you, the white rural rage folks, that he seeks to obliterate. They raided Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump is facing federal charges in multiple venues. And we don't even get a mention of that in our rebuttal. We get a mention about, you know, kitchen table issues. That's fine. I'm all for that. It's all good stuff. But in some ways, I feel as if the Republican response was yearning that we're still in the 1990s We're talking about which tax rates are better for us. You have a president who's a usurper, by the way, who is not interested in persuasion, not interested in dialogue, not interested in winning people over. Joe Biden did not go out of his way to try to convince. Joe Biden and the people around him and the cabinet that was in front of him, from Lloyd Austin to Merrick Garland, all they're interested in is blunt force. We're in charge, you're not. Our boot, your neck.
Remember when Letitia James first came to power? I forget what her exact position is, Attorney General or something like that. But when Letitia James first got elected to her position, the day after she got elected to her position, she said they were going to come after Donald Trump. And oh, how sweet karma is. Now she's facing some pretty serious charges of her own. And these aren't made up charges like this tax filing error that they're going to prosecute 34 separate times. No. These are much more serious, legitimate charges. So, hey, Letitia, good luck with that. Enjoy your jail cell.
He doesn't want to govern the country. Typically, a State of the Union address, Trump did this multiple times. He'll say to the Democrats, hey, let's work together. Said Joe Biden was taunting Republicans. And before anybody celebrates too much, oh, he's going to be easy to beat in November. No, he won't. They're going to package this and make him seem like a moderate. They're going to make this all about democracy, and they control the machinery and the intel agencies, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You are living through a cold civil war. You have been for quite some time. And only one side is fighting. The regime is on the march. Their leader, their figurehead, their temporary puppet, Joe Biden, taunted the American right. Basically said, what are you going to do about it? And our response was, well, Joe Biden makes me feel like we need a better leader. This is not the country we grew up in. Maybe it's time we start to solidify an opposition party so that we can fight and defeat these people.
One thing Charlie's really good at is even when Joe Biden withdrew from the race and Kamala Harris became the new candidate and she looked terrible and nobody thinks she's going to win. Nobody in the world thought she was going to win. Let's be honest. She looked so terrible. He never said, yes, we're going to win. There's no way she's going to win. He was always just getting after it. We need to show up. We need to vote. We need to make sure we get as many people out as possible. Too big to rig, right? So he was very good about that. But yeah, crazy title, Emperor Biden campaign speech. I don't think I watched this State of the Union from Biden. It's wild to me that he comes out there and he likens the lead up to the 2024 election to the U.S. response to Pearl Harbor. What the actual fuck? Like, Jesus. Man, like, we all know Joe Biden had some mental issues going on at this point. But my God, man, what? Somebody wrote this speech for him. Somebody reviewed it and greenlit it. And then I would presume Joe himself looked it over at least and was like, yeah, that's good. That's some wild shit, man. Like, just, I don't even know what to say to that. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Peace.